Okay, good morning. 14th of January 2021. I've been buying some hay from some other local guys just to obtain some new customers, keep some people happy. Most of us bale a lot of hay and sell a lot of hay. We don't produce enough of our own in the summer. And I've been buying from a couple different people, and I sold this hay to this lady a couple weeks ago, and she told me how great her horses were doing. They loved it. They weren't eating the other hay that she had there previously. I looked at the other hay she had. I couldn't see anything wrong with it. Well, she calls yesterday and says that the bales are musty and moldy in the middle. The guy I'm getting the hay from, he's been feeding it all along. He ain't seeing mold in there. However, these guys did sell me. They loaded me up different hay than what I had looked at. It wasn't bright green. It was stored down in an indoor arena on a dirt floor, and they had plastic down and all that. But the hay, it didn't have the color. It was that the hay I thought I was getting had. It was really dense, highly compressed bale. So I could see that there could be some mold or mustiness in the center of them bales. So I'm back at my hay suppliers. I'm gonna grab some other hay and take down there, swap out what she has left, and see if I can get down to the bottom of this. Okay, so pulled this hay out of the barn, and if you look at this, it's hard to tell in the bright sunlight. This stuff isn't, if you use your imagination, it's musty. I mean, I walked out there where there's some Polish Arabians eating it, and they're eating it, but some of it on the, some of it stuck together like it's pasty, like it started to change color. And the problem is I'm charging $8 a bale, and $8 hay should look like this. Bright green, better color. It definitely, this has a way better smell than that. And if you look at this, it just almost looks like it's gonna turn musty and moldy. And I had shown the lady this hay, and unfortunately, when I got to where I needed to go to pick it up, those guys pushed the other hay on me because they wanted it convenient. They wanted it to be convenient for them. And that's the problem with hay suppliers. This guy's really not in the hay business. He wanted to get in the hay business, so then he pushed marginal hay on me and made me look bad. So now I got this stuff in the barn, took the old stuff out. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna swap it out. Well, I mean, when you smell it, it doesn't smell, I mean, most of it smells fine. Okay, but isn't what she wanted. If she's saying some of these bales are musty, I gotta take them back. Yeah, so all in all, a lot of people, there's a lot of miscommunication between hay dealers and hay sellers and hay producers, hay purchasers. So the saga even continues. So I took 20 bales of second cutting hay to a lady today that is boarding at a barn. She didn't like their hay, so she wanted some good hay to supplement what she was feeding. And this is second cutting orchard grass. And she asked me when I got there, is your hay moldy? I said, of course not, it's not moldy. She goes, okay, because this one girl named Kim, a couple years ago, she used to buy hay from you, said your hay's moldy and that you bale the hay the same day you cut it, and you're not supposed to do that, and you just bale hay for cows. And I kind of unloaded on her. I go, that's BS. I go, what, just because I got cows, I want my cows to eat crap? I go, I bale great hay for my cows. And so, she doesn't even know who this Kim lady is. I go, who is she? Well, she doesn't know her last name, this and that. I don't even recall her knowing ever she bought hay from me. So sold the lady the hay. She goes, wow, this looks like really nice hay. And and it was. So you get that also. And then, so I didn't have any problems taking the hay back to the guy I bought the hay from. In that situation, You know, that lady, I showed her what I was supposed to sell her ahead of time. Those guys forced the other hay on me. If it was, you know, and it wasn't super fresh smelling hay. It was mildly, maybe, if you used your imagination, you could say it was on the, kind of smelled musty, but it wasn't really musty. I mean, there wasn't any mold or anything I could see. If I'd feed it to my own horses, no problem. Okay? Matter of fact, there's several customers I know would have fed that hay, no problem, no questions asked. But bottom line was, I had guaranteed the lady a certain type of hay and didn't bring it to her. So I was a little bit embarrassed about that. Once in a while you get caught doing that. Now the day before, yesterday, I had a client that I sold some other hay to. She called and she said I got Horiolisum in my hay. So Horiolisum, it is in the mustard family. It has some known toxicities to horses. As far as I know, there haven't been any negative reactions on ruminants. And it causes laminitis type symptoms. As far as I know, they haven't identified the toxin or what actually causes it. But it's been, I think it's a invader from Eurasia, been kind of in the last maybe 10 to 20 years got more prevalent in hayfields. We see it in the Great Lakes region here, dry, sandy sites, drier years you see it. One year you might have it in a hayfield, another year you don't see it at all. And it typically it flowers midsummer, so you're going to see it like in your second cutting, and mostly in grass fields. It seems like alfalfa competes real well with it. It doesn't outcompete your grasses, it just becomes a component within your grass hayfields. So I'm like, holy cow. And I bought the hay from another farmer, and he's a serious, you know, he has a hay business. He knows what he's doing, you know. He does hay seriously and does corn, soybeans, that type of stuff. And so I got some, it was his hay, and I called him. I said, hey, you know, we need to go look at this hay because we might have to go pick it up. And this customer had already had some problems with her horses. She had some laminitis problems from the guy's the previous seller's hay. You know, that's what the vet said. So I got down there, we're looking at the hay. She had sent me pictures day ahead of time, and I'm looking at it, I go, this doesn't look like Horiolisum from a picture. I get down there, we're looking at it, and I bring the other guy with me. You know, I don't want to mention Josh Timer from Timer Farms name, but that's who came with me. Anyways, so, and we're both looking at it, you know, we're educated, we're trying to diagnose it, we're taking pictures of it. I'm calling up the MSU, got a hold of our head extension agronomist, and then she got a hold of one of our weed scientists at MSU. Came back, it was chickweed. And no problem, chickweed's completely edible. You can make tea out of it. You can put it in salads. You know, it grows in your garden, moist sites. So it was chickweed, and she said, well, that's what the vet had identified in this previous hay as the problems, all the problems with our animals here. And I said, you know, and this is where, you know, I told him, I said, hey, the progression is you blame the hay guy first for all your problems. Then the next tier up that gets blamed is usually the farrier. Farrier gets blamed. Then the feed dealer, you can blame the feed person. The fourth least likely person to get blamed for anything then would be you got to go after the vet. But I told these people, I go, look, I don't think your hay was your problem. You had a Clydesdale out there that showed laminitis type symptoms. Well, it's stocked up. But then the lady says the horse got crappy feet and it gets abscesses. Okay, maybe got an abscess at the same time. She had a goat get sick, some sort of impaction. Well, that has nothing to do with your hay. Then she had these fainting type goats. Kind of a neat looking thing, they're pets. Then she had a donkey get sick. Well, you know, it's a miniature donkey, and anybody knows much about them, the donkeys, as they get older, I mean, they should be living on trees and sticks, almost. I mean, I even had a vet tell me that. You feed them grain. I said, you've been feeding grain? She goes, yeah, but just a little bit. But I tell you what, they feed the starch with the hay, the fiber, and then they get these, you get all sorts of problems, colics, founder, laminitis, and it doesn't, I believe it doesn't take much grain to trigger these problems. Because you hear that a lot, well, it was just a little bit. And then she said, well, I switched to a low starch grain. I said, that's an oxymoron, grain's a starch. That's like saying, oh, I drank Diet Coke. No, you drank Coke, okay? I don't, you know, it's, you drank sugar water with carbonation in it. So, you know, but Josh and I, we were up, you know, we were both probably unsettled the night before. We were talking about it, laughing our ass off about, you know, how unsettling it was, thinking, geez, we took some bad hay to a lady, and she's already had some major vet expenses, and now we got, you know, some hay associated with some toxicity, and it turns out it wasn't, you know, Horiolisum at all. You know, and problem is with these, when you're identifying these weed species in dry hay in the winter, we don't have the leaves. Most often we don't have the flower. You've got the seed, or, you know, the seed pod. And the reason why I knew, you know, like chickweed's a flower. It had little, you know, it almost looked like tiny little grass seed head with awns on it, but it was a flower. You can see tiny little dried up sepals on it, where, you know, Horiolisum, being in the mustard family, it's going to have pods almost like, you know, like a pepper pod. Looks a lot like a legume, like an individual single legume pod. But that was nice, we got that done, but it's been a trying couple days in the hay business, and usually I don't have any of those problems. Problems is when you're buying hay from other people, it's not your own hay. You know, you don't know the whole history of the hay. When you don't know the history of the hay, what field it came off of, it's very hard to troubleshoot the situation altogether. And you can't really make an assessment or a judgment until you get down there, you know. So there's just a lot of uneducation about the hay, but, you know, if you got amateurs getting into the market selling hay, and then you got amateur purchasers of hay, that's a recipe for disaster. And often they're taking their information, the lead informant for the novice horse owners is the veterinarian, and the veterinarian is far from knowing really much about, you know, plant identification. They're not a botanist. But anyways, I'm glad this day is done. Go home, take a hot shower, make a cocktail, and enjoy the rest of the evening. All right, well, tell me your hay stories. And I'd like to be able to do I tried to do a live stream the other night, and it turned out to be a disaster. So it'd be fun to talk about all this stuff in the hay season, but for some reason my upload speeds are so bad I can't do a live stream on my computer at my house. So it could be my computer too. So anyways, talk to y'all later.